Wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, is that what we're calling it, Chiefs Kingdom? Because Seth's here, and he's ready to tell us his take on Patrick Mahomes and how this has to go to maximize QB1. And if you're a Bills fan or you're a Chargers fan, yes, you don't have QB1. The Chiefs do. It's okay. We're going to have fun tonight. Welcome to RGR Football. Bouncing along, singing a song. Mr. Seth Kaiser is here from The Athletic and from the Real Minnesota Chiefs Fan blog. And I had to put a new link in the description, folks, so you can get to his newsletter on the new link that's there, but you can also follow this one that he really likes. If I can click on it correctly, there it is. That's the actual address. The little cheat code I put in the description will get you there too. So you got to do that because we're going to be talking about the topics that Seth does all this work on. All of his work is great. How are you, Seth? I know you have to be a little bit wore out after that last one, but hey, how you hanging in?
Yeah, we had a lot of fun last week. It's it's always fun chatting with Dan and going through some stuff. And it was I always feel bad because I'm not very good at going through the questions and really doing what I ought to do. But we were here. We made it through. The viewers were great as ever. So no, life is good. I know I'm going to get a hard time. I'm wearing gray. My wife bought me this shirt, and I almost only wear black ties. I don't know what to tell you. Okay. I'm sorry, but not sorry enough to change.
At least it's not the reverse. Like the color scheme looks less, applicable when it's black tie on a gray background. So it's okay.
Oh, it's good.
As long as you're happy. Way. Oh, it's fine. Hello.
I'm clearly not working enough. That's my problem.
Yeah, that must be it. Hey, Julian. Hey, Night Hunter. How you guys doing? Glad you guys are here. Jaden, nice to see you. Everybody, we are going to get to our topics of the night, and then we'll likely have some question time here at the end like we usually do, but it is mostly about Patrick. If you're new to the channel, like, sub, and hit that bell right now so you get more of this. You can catch us all as we kind of rotate, and if you missed the announcement on Twitter, there is a new member of RGR coming soon. A lot of you know who he is. I know Harry will. So Gary McKenzie will be joining us here rather rapidly.
Gary. I've known Gary. I think I've known Gary maybe as long or longer than I've known you.
I think so. Yeah.
Gary's awesome.
And he does more analytics than I do, and he has a unique spin. It's funny. We actually work in the same sector in our day jobs, which we only found out recently. So that was really entertaining. But another voice for RG to give you guys another kind of perspective. I think you're really going to dig it. So make sure you're one of us here in Rogue Nation. And if you are one of the members in the True Rogue Nation Discord, you'll get a little bit more there as well. If you join, just hit it at the rookie level and send me an email. I had a lot of members join this week. So glad to have you all aboard. And we'll get to the topic of the night. And that really is, how do you maximize a guy that's already at the top of the game? Sure. Everybody's got idiosyncrasies, right? Everybody's got a drawback here or whatever. No one is a perfectly built quarterback.
Right.
But you've been doing a lot of work on how to help him. At least that's my perspective of it. Is that the way that you approach the things that you've been writing lately?
Yes, I totally had this plan in mind with a overall emphasis. I can't do this. No, so I basically pick players. So this is the dead time. Training camp starts, I think, like the 28th. So this is finally the actual dead time. And so what that means is guys that I'm curious about, I can finally go back and review enough of their film to really get a good idea. During the season, I'm usually having to take it a game at a time, except like during the bye week, or if there's something that's really needs looking at, and you're usually looking for trends and you're trying to project the future and you're trying to go week to week, you're trying to look at matchups and all sorts of stuff, right? And there's just not time to go over, 8 games, charting every snap of every player. You can't do that. You can't even do that in the offseason. If enough of you guys subscribe, maybe one day I'll be able to do that. And,
keep it rolling.
I got to do it. I got to do. You got to do what you got to do. But anyway, so what I do is I pick out players that intrigue me, that I think have a potential impact on the upcoming season. And then also are maybe a little more unknown. Like, I would love to chart 8 games of Travis Kelce and show how often he comes open. I think people would enjoy that.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'd really learn anything from it other than like how he does it, because I think he's underrated. See, now I'm already talking myself into this. I can see it. But I try to pick things that people really have some genuine questions on, or has been a little more of a controversial topic or something like that. And to where it's just, here's the question people are asking. How can we answer it? So this time of the year, you get that with film reviews of certain guys. How did L'Jarius Sneed play in year 2? Because that's going to have a direct effect on year 3. Had really high expectations. And so, we go chart the snaps, see how things went. And then this week, I think it was Monday, it went up. It's Trey Smith. And so it's one player at a time, really, but with a larger overall impact. And so I wish I could say there was a plan. There was, just not that plan.
Well, I'll make a plan out of the results. How's that? I'll take your hard work and results and put it together in an overall scoping picture, because all of it contributes to Patrick, and particularly Trey. And I'm really interested to go through that. A couple of shout outs first. The dude watching from a cabin in Central Alaska. Say hi to Denali for me. I hope you're doing well, and thanks for keeping up on our takes. Nice to see you. Mr. Gooch is in the house. Thank you for the super chat too, Gooch. Hello. Newman. Nice Seinfeld reference. Hello, there, Gooch. For those of you who don't recognize that remark, go stream.
We're old, man.
Somewhere. Yeah, right. We're getting up there, man. It's tough. But I hope you guys are doing well. Thank you, Gooch. Thank you, Whiskey Bravo. I'm trying to go week 1. KC to Arizona at Arizona. Should I make a sign calling for KC versus Arizona rematch on 12 February 23?
I mean, yeah, that would be great. Kyler Murray's got a few steps to go up. Well, and really, maybe even more so than Kyler, I think who I'm a little less sold on is Cliff.
I think Kym is less sold on him too.
When I watch Kyler Murray play, he's got a great arm. He's unbelievably athletic. Like he's not quite Lamar, because Lamar's unique. Right. But he might be quicker than Lamar. Nobody's as fast. I mean, well, now he's probably not quicker than Lamar. Lamar he's like Mike Vick reincarnated. I get that. Well, maybe not quite. He's like 98% Mike Vick reincarnated, and I that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. There'll never be another quarterback like Vic. No. But Murray, great arm, incredibly quick, tough to bring down, moves pretty well in the pocket, like away from pressure, trying to get around things. I just haven't seen a ton of development. But is that on the coach? Because I don't see that Cliff. I mean, Cliff's one of those dudes that seems like he came into the league year 1. Offense did some things. But basically, without DeAndre Hopkins, their offense goes boom. And that makes me say, well, okay, it's like, oh, we're a great offense if we've got a top 3 receiver playing top 3 receiver ways. It's like,
right.
A lot of offenses are pretty good with that. So anyway, that's a long road to a short thought. That'd be a killer sign to make. That's a lot to put on the Cardinals, though.
It is, but hey, let's hope so, Whiskey. I think you can get it done. And it's funny that you bring up Kyler, because I know a lot of people are trying to make that leap. And back to our main topic tonight is Patrick. How do you support him? How do you make QB1 better at this point? Or is it all up to him?
Sure. So, I mean, with every quarterback, their situation is going to matter so much. And some of it is up to him. I think the first thing to focus on, really, for me, is that there needs to be a fundamental understanding. I'm going to talk about this in this Patrick Mahomes article I've got coming up next, which is going to be, I'm finally going to get around to taking all the charted information I took throughout all of 2021 and doing the averages so we can compare it to what he looked like in 2020, 2019, and 2018. Because I did that for all of those years. And I would be willing to bet anything when you chart that. Now we'll see. I haven't done the numbers yet. We'll see. Maybe I'll be wrong and I'll be like, holy crap. Because he did play 2 of the worst games of his career in 2021. Although I didn't chart the Giants game yet.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
I didn't, because I knew he didn't play that well. And there was a bunch of other stuff going wrong with the Chiefs at that point. and there was more like 10,000 feet in the air stuff. Like, yeah, they had to win that, but holy crap, they looked like they're in trouble. And then they went on a run and whatever. And so I'm half tempted to chart it just because it's going to make his numbers look better than they should if I don't.
I see what
that said, there was another game in the middle of the season. There were two that I missed. I can't remember which one. It might be, the Steelers playoff game. I'm pretty sure I didn't chart, and he was scorched earth that game. So it's like, kind of evens out maybe a little bit. Either way, I would be willing to bet that his charted numbers for things that actually measure quarterback play, accuracy of throws, happy feet, movement in the pocket, that sort of thing, going through multiple reads. I'm guessing we're going to find that he was just as good or better in 2021 as he has been in previous seasons. I'd be willing to bet. And that's a long road to a short thought. That one of the things that I retweeted earlier this week is that the Chiefs had the best offense in the NFL in a lot of measures last year. And I'm going to do a little bit of patter as I look up this tweet. And so a lot of people wouldn't think that about the Chiefs, because that's been kind of this overarching narrative, is that, so Warren Sharp tweeted this out. The overarching narrative is the Chiefs offense couldn't figure out two high safeties, especially cover two. And it was just this big mess, and they couldn't figure it out. And it culminated in the Bengals dropping 8, rushing 3, and the Chiefs were flummoxed by this, couldn't figure it out. Again, and I've said this every week, we've talked about this, the Bengals were rushing 3 and dropping 8 in the first half too, when the Chiefs were just moving the ball up and down the field like it was going out of style. That was not a magic pill. It was not. Mahomes, it's a better way of playing the Chiefs,
right,
as they were built last year, because it forced some mistakes. And then if you just you make him do it long enough, maybe Mahomes will start to play poorly. And I swear, because he's talked about a little bit how he feels about the game. I swear he tightened up. He started pressing or something.
Pressing, I agree, but I don't always equate those two things. Do you?
Yeah, I don't think he folded under pressure. Like, that's just not who he is.
Right.
I think Kelsey and Hill both had some drops early in the second half, and they had a couple bad snaps, and the Bengals defense was playing well, and he saw his defense give the ball back a couple times, although not every time, because Snead had a pick. They got them the ball back. They had chances, and he started pressing. Mm-hmm. And that's probably the one flaw you could say, if you're going to say Patrick Mahomes' biggest flaw, is that very occasionally, he will press, and he will try to do more than he should.
He reminds me of my buddy Ace. He's Ace in my life, in college and everything. He was the hold my beer guy. Oh, you don't think I can do that? I will go show you. And that's what Patrick feels like to me. If you're going to do that, I'm going to go prove you wrong. All right. Sorry, guys. I'm going to block this user. I apologize. Miss Liz is not going to make it tonight. So you guys are going to have to put up with me trying to manage the chat as well. Like, I'm in it a lot more than I usually am tonight.
Oh, is that not what we're supposed to have in the comments?
No, that one was not. It was not really it. So yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. That was my bad, guys. Sorry. That was my bad. I thought Ryan wanted me to put that in. I'm kidding. I'm going to ruin my brand here. Never. Anyway, so here's the interesting thing to know about the Chiefs. They scored on 52% of their offensive drives last year. And this is Warren Sharp, who gathers a lot of these kind of tidbits and looks at things not in terms of pure, total yards, or even yards per throw or yards per carry. You want to know a good stat? Yards per drive, first downs per drive, time of possession per drive. Looking at drive stats as opposed to just generalized game stats allows you to get a little better look at what went on. So this is interesting. The Chiefs rated number 1 in the league in scoring on their drives, if you're not including kneel downs. 52% of the time they scored. They were number 1 in touchdowns per drive. Mm-hmm. Number 1 in points per drive, which stands to reason with number 1 in touchdowns. But it also shows, because you could be number 1 in touchdowns and not be number 1 in points if you had a lot of 3 and outs, right? Because then you'd be punting. So even on a lot of drives that they didn't score a touchdown, they still got a field goal. They still got some first downs. Number 1 in yards per drive. That relates to the thing that we were just talking about. Number 1 in plays per drive. Does that sound like an offense that was getting worked over? No. They were dead last in total drives. They averaged a little over 9 drives per game.
Well,
there's a couple.
That comes back to the turnovers.
What do you think's the cause of that? Like, first and foremost,
it comes back to the turnovers. I mean, more turnovers for Patrick, more drop passes that ended drives for all of the stars.
Yep.
So, and I agree with you. That's why I think people get too caught up in game stats, because you can't account by looking at a game-to-game comparison for those catastrophic drive-ending plays that just takes one mistake to kill it. So I really appreciate that Warren did, and I'm glad you picked up on it, because I just didn't have the time to get into it. I'm packing the house and doing all kinds of things. So like I'm catching these things not on my normal fly. So I'm totally with you.
So it's just an interesting thing, because with turnovers, so if you already are on a drive and you turn the ball over, obviously that drive still counts, right? But then what's happened is you've given them the ball in a certain spot, and they're going to take more time off and maybe shorten the game a little bit. The other thing, so that's part of it, I think, the turnovers. Here's the other thing. Teams did try to shorten games against the Chiefs. Take away big plays. Let's limit drives as much as possible. And it kind of worked. Sort of. Make them work their way up the field. The Chiefs took forever to adjust to it. Now, in the second half of the season, they were destroying two high looks consistently. Basically, once you get past, was it the Cowboys game or so? I mean, they were just, and the Cowboys, they're just a good defense. I mean, but they really, I mean, they started tearing up these two high looks. They did a good job with it. But there's a couple things here. The defense is much more culpable for last year than what people would really like to, because the defense had like a hot stretch of like 5 or 6 games where they were like out of control, playing really well. And it's so easy to remember the defense at its peak and the offense at its nadir. It's so easy to do that if because of the way the season ended, right?
Yep.
The season ended with the offense playing like crap by and large in the second half of the AFC Championship. And all they needed was one drive, really.
Yeah. Well, that leads into something Stevie mentioned too. And Aaron, thank you for making it, folks. Aaron is in the house. And Stevie put it this way, and that's why I think this is important. Who presses more, Pat or Spags? That's Stevie's question. And I will tell you this, Stevie, I feel it's not that Spags presses. I think he lags. I don't think he's aggressive enough soon enough in a given ball game. I think he gets desperate. And if he doesn't have it to be, I'm going to pressure all day long, and I'm going to send my safeties, I'm going to do my exotic blitzes, I'm going to do all this stuff, he doesn't do it. Second half adjustments were not what Steve Spagnuolo accomplished last season. I think there was a serious lack there. Seth, you tell me if I'm wrong, but that's how I feel.
They did not adjust so it's easy to look at the Bengals as an example of a lot of things. They lost 2 games that they really shouldn't have lost. Both of those games, the Bengals. But hey, and the Bengals won. This is not one of those. This is not the Bengals. They made plays when they needed to. They made some great plays when they needed to on offense and on defense. So hats off to them. I'm not saying they didn't deserve the win, but that's a separate conversation from saying the Chiefs don't deserve to take blame for losing that they should not have lost, because that was a game where a bunch of things had to go wrong both times for the Chiefs to lose.
How do these people have multiple? Sorry, chat's getting to me. There's multiple people with the word naked in their username. It's like, how do they keep getting in? Sorry.
Aaron, help us. You're our only hope, Aaron. So the thing to keep in mind, so in the first matchup, something that went wrong there, they kept going with, this is the one that brung us here. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to play man-to-man on the outside without a ton of safety help over the top. And Jamar Chase ate it up repeatedly, including in crucial situations. Now, they adjusted from game 1 to game 2. The very first third down. It's easy to forget that the Chiefs defense kind of dominated the Bengals for let's say 27 minutes in the first half of the AFC Championship. They went 3 and out a couple times. And the very first third down, what did they do? They showed that same look, single high over the top. And then the moment the ball was snapped, Tyreek Hill rotated while the corner bailed to take away deep. And they smothered Jamar Chase, which that was the move, right? And they kept doing that. They were saying, nope, we're not doing the same thing. Here's the problem. And this goes back to the point you made. That shouldn't take a full game to do.
Right.
That should take, and I understand you don't want to be, that's got to be hard as a play caller, especially a defensive play caller, because you don't want to overreact to one bad play.
True.
You can't just throw out an entire game plan and that's something people need to understand. There are a limited number of plays that a team is prepared to call any given Sunday. They can't just say, you know what, we're going to, whatever. They might not have run something on their install all week, and it might not even be in the playbook that week, really, like on the call sheet.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like Andy Reid's entire playbook is on the table. And in theory,
Couldn't fit it.
he could say, hey, let's go back to this, but that's a huge risk if you haven't practiced it all week or in a few weeks. So there's risk there, but you have to adjust.
Yeah.
And I agree, it happens game to game, but not necessarily within games. And so, like, Spags is a great example, in my opinion, of he is a decent defensive coordinator. I don't think there's anyone out there who would say Spags is a bad defensive coordinator. He's not. But he is not on the same level as the Fangios and Bowles of the world. Like some of these guys who – Bowles. Bowles.
Him too.
Yeah, no, I knew I did it as soon as you made a face. Like, oh, no, I said it the wrong way.
That's a whole different scenario, man.
Yeah. Bowels are a whole different thing. There's a lot of people that aren't on certain levels of bowels. Todd Bowles, sorry, who is an excellent defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I like Spagnuolo well enough, but that's, to me, if the Chiefs had wanted to be really aggressive this offseason, the minute Fangio got fired from Denver, if I were Andy Reid, I'd have called him and said, what will it take for you to come run my defense? And that's all due respect to Spags. But I bet you if someone, gun to your head, Steve Spagnuolo, he would admit Vic Fangio is a better defensive coordinator than he is. I mean, he would. Fangio is a legend. I mean, that's not that's not like you're getting ripped. It's like, during the years when Wade Phillips was really dominating with a bunch of different defenses. If someone was like, you're no Wade Phillips, it'd be like, okay.
And
that's like the whole, Travis Kelce's a tight end. So anyway, it's a long road to a short thought there. That is an issue with Spags. I know we started talking about Pat, but that defense is part of supporting Patrick Mahomes.
Exactly.
And it's so easy to view the NFL as two completely disparate things on offense, defense, and then a third one, hovering, coming around here. Special teams. But they're not. They're all linked. And if you can't consistently stop drives, you are going to shorten games. And by shorten games, I mean have fewer drives.
Yep.
And the Chiefs are a team, they want as many drives as possible. Now, in the past, that strategy never worked against the Chiefs. Hey, let's run the ball really well against them. That whole thing. In theory, that works. In practice, it doesn't when they throw a 70-yard touchdown to Hardman and they've immediately flipped possession because it took 20 seconds, right? Yeah. In 2021, it actually worked a little bit because they were able to also slow down the offense in terms of big plays. They've got to adjust to that.
And for those of you that are saying, it's only going to get worse without Tyreek, it's not. They did it to Tyreek. And this goes back to my concept again, that the playing high coverage, especially too high, where you could roll into a 4 or 6 and really kind of mess with what they were trying to do route-wise. That was combating Patrick. It wasn't combating Tyreek. Because, yes, you kept him in front of you. But it was about confounding Patrick and what he wanted to do that was more effective. And that will continue until he works them out of it, which I think for this offense and this wide receiver crew is going to be instant because there's so many more targets underneath. And if they're going to continue to play 3 and 4 high, good luck to you because they will run you yak forever until you croak.
And I think moving away from quite as many RPOs is part of that too. And then, it's so easy to let the pendulum swing back and forth because now everyone's like, get these RPOs out of our offense. Not entirely. Mahomes is great at them. He's exceptional at them in that he's got better zip, better accuracy on those. He can throw from weird angles. Those all help with RPOs, snap second moments for the defense to make them hesitate because he'll make throws that other guys won't. So, but the part of the problem with the RPOs, he's going to throw it almost every time. It's kind of like when Travis Kelce lines up in the Wildcat. He's always keeping that ball. Always. Has he ever thrown it there?
No.
But I thought he threw a deep one. He tried to. Mahomes, he threw a pick or something. But that wasn't like a Wildcat. Like that goal line read option, he's always going to keep it unless the Red Sea parts.
True.
And Clyde's like, give me the ball. And then Kelsey would just keep it and run straight through that. You know he would. He can't help himself. He's a playmaker. So, sorry, it's just so funny to me every time they line up. I'm like, well, Kelsey's keeping that ball.
Hey, guess
and
what?
But so with this group, I think if you do certain things that the Chiefs started to do last year, Steven Ruiz, I think we referenced this, wrote a great article for The Ringer talking about the Chiefs started playing a little more. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, he ended up with like 70 to 100 snaps under center last year, which doesn't sound like much, but it's way more than he'd previously done. And a lot of it was on the back half of the season. He started playing from under center and doing a little more traditional play action, which can hurt this too high looks because it's going to affect the linebacker movement much more than a traditional RPO on a shotgun.
Right.
You might get one step here. You get 2 or 3 steps here.
Exactly.
And it's something Mahomes looks comfortable doing.
Mm-hmm.
He's comfortable, because that was something people didn't really know about him. He seems comfortable doing it. His footwork's always going to be probably not great, but he doesn't need it to be.
Yeah.
And he does a
textbook.
and he does a good job selling it, and he's really dangerous rolling out. And so you saw more of that down the stretch last season when they started really having success against these too high looks. I think you're going to see more of that this year. I don't think it necessarily means an increase in running plays per se, but like you and I talked about, it might be only by like 1 or 2 percentages.
Yeah.
But if they're more successful when they do it, I think that's going to matter. I think they are 2 or 3 weeks of Rojo and Clyde Edwards-Helaire running for, $150 from teams saying, well, we tried.
Yeah. Let's go back in the box. What an idea.
Yep.
Stevie, I'm sorry I didn't recognize the sarcasm. I'm not very good at that here on the written part of it. And you guys, we are going to get to your questions here in a second, but I do want to, one last thing as we wrap up the Patrick support issue, what you found with Trey and how it relates to Orlando, those 2 guys in particular.
Mm-hmm.
How does that set you up? And you guys need to go read it over at the Substack. I'm going to give it to you guys here again so you know how to get there. A lot of you are already subs, but go sub to Substack. Yeah. You can read it here.
Thank you.
But just big takeaway.
And I think this is one that a lot of people will appreciate because the Trey Smith review. So what I did was I charted, I think it was 7 games of his spanning from week 1 to the AFC Championship. The point being to, for one, get a large enough sample size to really see who he is as a player, because I don't care what a guy's highlights are. I don't care what his lowlights are. Everyone gets got sometimes. There was a snap where he flattened Max Crosby trying to spin back in. Everyone's like, Max Crosby sucks. No, Max Crosby's a stud. He just got. It happens. Everyone gets got sometimes. It just happens. It's the NFL. And also, it's the NFL. Everyone's going to have a highlight.
Yeah.
I could put together, and I've told this to you before, I could put together a 3-minute video of Christian Ponder highlights that make him look like a stud. Might have a few replays in there. I could do it. I am telling you. I bet you he made at least in every game, he made at least 3 to 5 NFL type throws. And that's just, you don't get to the NFL without being really, really, really good. So what matters is what guys do snap in, snap out. So I charted every snap, looking at pass block wins, pass block losses, run block wins, run block losses. And I do neutral snaps. I know a lot of offensive line rooms don't do that because really a neutral snap means the play didn't get messed up. You by and large probably executed your assignment. And so most offensive line rooms, what I'm told, it would just be a win.
They want a plus or minus.
Yeah, but it's a plus or minus. I hate the idea of plus or minus because I think it can artificially inflate certain things, but I get why they do it that way because really it's all about loss percentage. That's what matters. How often do you lose? Because a lost play by an offensive lineman can ruin a play. A win by an offensive lineman is good, but it doesn't guarantee success on a play of any sort.
Right.
So the only reason I do it that way is to kind of separate the Trent Williams of the world, who it's a bunch of wins, from someone with a lot more neutrals. Because that does matter at times. So with Smith, This is, I mean, this is what this site is supposed to be about. Like that, I'm talking a lot about the process here, but this is, I'm so grateful that people subscribe because it allows me to do this. And I've done stuff like this in my previous jobs, but like working for the Athletic, I would do it. Working for Arrowhead Pride, I would do it. But I didn't always have the time to do it as much as I'd like. So like I just got done doing it with L'Jarius Sneed. Now I can just do it with Trey Smith, and I don't have to have any fluff in between. I can just, this is just pure raw nerd film review stuff, and I love it. And the great thing with Trey Smith is it's not just the pure film review. It's also, there's narratives involved here.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fans view Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey as like this. And this is, again, this is not, Trey Smith is a very good offensive lineman, but he's not Creed Humphrey.
Right.
And that was part of what I was setting out to discover. Is he a star? Because he's kind of gets the star treatment from fans. And there's some good reasons for that. His top end snaps are hilarious. His dominant snaps, although you can say, you mentioned Orlando Brown, he shares this in common with Orlando Brown. Orlando Brown's best snaps are flat out dominant.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter the competition. He did some terrible things to some great pass rushers. Because when he wins, it's mean, it's brutal, and it's hilarious. Same with Trey Smith. What I found, and again, go read it. You really should. I think you'll enjoy it because there's a lot there, a lot. But the brief summary would be that Trey Smith is a good, but not great offensive lineman right now.
Right now. Now he's got the tools.
Mm-hmm. I think his change of direction, he's actually pretty explosive at the snap, I think.
Mm-hmm. Forward,
but
yes.
But his change of direction is not great. That's why, like, please stop saying we should move him to right tackle. Or, I mean, that's someone asked me left tackle. Absolutely not. He's not a tackle. He doesn't move in space like a tackle, and he doesn't have like the freakish length and width of Orlando Brown to try to make up for that. And frankly, Brown changes direction a little better than Trey Smith does. And is it like this leaps and bound difference? No. But if you watch the difference between the way Creed Humphrey moves and the way Trey Smith moves, you can see there's just different levels of athletes there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it comes into play, both Smith and Brown, is that they're good but not great pass protectors. But both of them have ceilings to grow. Orlando Brown has grown every year he's been in the league. I have a feeling that he'll grow again this year.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. I also, just on a side note, it's been awfully quiet. That's a good thing with the Chiefs. When no one's saying anything, that's great. So with Trey Smith, one thing that I really like, just as like a tidbit, I think, right? Because there's a lot there, and how he relates to Patrick Mahomes. One thing that I really like that he does, he's an excellent head on a swivel, uncovered help blocker. He's a smart player. And I don't know how much of it you got a chance to read. My very favorite snap of the year from Trey Smith it was a pancake, but he was in pass pro helping Humphrey out on a double team, and Wiley lost around the right edge. And so you got the crosser. And yeah, he left and he came flying up. Unbelievable block. Unbelievable block. Like basically lays him out as he gets there, very close to holding, not quite. And just unbelievable block, lays the guy out. And then Mahomes has to circle back around. It was a touchdown against Cincy. It was a touchdown. His footwork becomes a mess because he thought he was getting pressured because he didn't think Trey Smith was going to make that block.
Right.
It was an incredible block.
That was, yeah.
And then he circles back around, and the defender sees that he's coming back around, and Smith sees it too, and he lays him out a second time. One of the best blocks by any player of last season. And it's representative. He's a really good help blocker guy. That was some great phrasing, but a help blocker guy.
Yeah, you're doing great, Minnesota.
He is exceptional in staying busy and looking for work. And that's one of my favorite things about him. And that's something that bodes well in terms of helping Mahomes. That's something that's only going to grow with time. It's something Creed Humphrey's great at too. Joe Tooney's just a robot. He's very good at everything that you ask in pass blocking, especially. Yeah. And so I think that interior is one of the things that I think they might this year. Now that they know what they have, Andy Reid's a sharp guy. He knows what he has now on that offensive line. I think you're going to see them build out from that a little more this year.
I hope so. Because one thing that Creed can improve on, I think, is the run game. I think Mitch Morse was a better run blocker coming out. And people have given me a lot of crap this summer for that. But
how Dare you? To be fair, Mitch Morse is an awesome run blocker.
Yeah, that's my point.
Like
Like that's not a dig on Creed. Creed's a better pass blocker as a rookie.
Yeah, and Mitch Morse is an elite run blocker. Like Creed. Now, to be fair, Creed gets a little more push on some of those combos at the point of the attack and that kind of
combos.
stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, but in
not
terms,
solos.
and you know what? That's a good point. In terms of getting into space, there's like for athletic centers and guys that are just any kind of climbing to the second level, pulling to either side or screens. There's Morse and there's Jason Kelsey, and those two are like on their own island with that stuff. There's a reason when Mitch Morse went to Buffalo, and I know they were talking about maybe releasing him because of salary cap stuff, but their offensive line took an immediate jump up. Yeah. So I forgive you for that. Okay. You it's okay to doubt my large adult son if it's in favor of my former large adult son.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, as long as you're happy. All right. We are going to get to your questions, guys. Thank you for your patience. Bill, will Tyreek Hill walk out of Dolphins camp practice before week 6? No, he likes his game checks. But I think you're going to hear some things, whether on a podcast or some snide remark somewhere, that's probably going to rattle something, maybe right around that week 6. I don't know. Gooch, thank you. The Huddle Boys are represented on RGR tonight, and you can find that on the DAN show. Come check us. Okay, cool. Rock on. I don't know that one, but go over and make sure you subscribe to Back to Talk Boys, Bros. Dang it, I always do that. The guys who started their own channel so they can get a little more frank with you. That's the best way to put it, because you have a special coming up this next week here in 2 days where you get to see the 1-year anniversary of the Roguehead Huddle. And for those of you in the public domain, you can see the cleaner version. And then you members are going to start seeing the real thing from the Huddle back in the members version. So, that's the way we're going to stack it. So the algorithm still loves us. But check out their channel as well. It is Back Talk Bros. Thank you, Gooch. Appreciate you. Julian, I think the offense needs to open up the full playbook, old passing concepts and current within the last 3 or 4 years. Thoughts? And a versatile running game. Stay unpredictable. Like, do you think that they should go back to the 18 playbook and just pull some things out?
I mean, they're always. I mean, I know Reed made some comments about dusting off some of the old stuff, and he will. You're going to see Reed cycle up stuff from the 90s. You're going to see him cycle up stuff from the 2000s and then the 2010s. I think with this particular group, some of the stuff that he was doing in 2018 would work. It's just that offense wasn't quite as built around Tyreek Hill. That offense, I mean, it was, make no mistake. They knew what they had in Hill.
But there's still trying to get there.
That was built around Kelsey and Hill and Watkins. Now you notice that pause there. It was Kelsey and Hill and Watkins. Mm-hmm. I think you're probably going to see a little more of a return to that. You're going to see an offense built around Kelsey and Juju and MVS. Mm-hmm. And then I think there's a significant possibility that Hardman, it might be and Juju and MVS, Hardman and Moore, depending on what Moore does. I'm not ruling out the things Sky Moore does well translate. We'll see. Tough playbook.
And if everything goes to plan, no defense should be able to take away Sky Moore, because there are too many other things that'll hurt you.
Yep. So he should have some really good opportunities early. It just depends on what version of MVS and Juju show up, much more so with Juju, right? Yeah. Because MVS was arguably, before injury, he's a better player last year, I think. Yeah. Just a little more, he's not as versatile.
True.
I don't even know if that's true. I mean,
I don't think he is.
He's a little more versatile. I mean, because with Juju, he wasn't that versatile in terms of where he could threaten the field. But he's 25.
Yeah.
I refuse to believe that he's that limit, this is who he is forever and ever, and he's
Agreed.
Lost a step. That seems crazy.
Yeah, I agree with you. Thank you, Julian. And yes, I think we generally agree. We're going to see some older concepts tweaked a little bit and maybe brought back to life. William, I believe the O-line is built for power, and they should play with that more. Do you think that we see an increase in run calls, or does 15 set a career high with all these new weapons?
You go first. I'm curious what you think.
if they got back to where I want them, which is somewhere between 38 and 42%, that would be over last year. I think that would be a 6.5% increase just to get to 38. I don't think they do that much, but I do think they tick up. The bigger question for me is, do they call less outside zone, and do they go more to the power like you're talking about, William? And just do what you're set up for, do what your lineman's strengths are, because quite frankly, it's the strength for Clyde. He's better in a power scheme. It's just a fact. And I think Rojo can play in either. I don't know about Pacheco. I think Pacheco probably is the one cut type, like put him in the zone. I think I'll like that better.
Yeah, he can do it. He's an outside zone guy through and through, I think. He did show the ability to get small through holes somewhat, but he's not particularly quick. He's not a change of direction guy, but he's got speed, and he can one cut and go. That first is good. Upright runner, which is right. It's such an easy catchphrase to say.
And he looks really for contact though. Like he looks for this spot and tries to go hit it. Okay.
Yeah, he's not great through contact. That's just not his. He doesn't have that bendiness almost, that kind of liquiding through contact that
Nobody's Jamal Charles, bro.
I know it sounds good, but I mean, the best runners, they absorb the contact, and you can almost see them bending a little bit to let it kind of not hit them as hard as it can. With Pacheco, every impact looks like it hits. Like even Clyde, right? When Clyde gets hit, unless he gets hit dead on, then you can kind of see some of the size issues with him. You see him like moving off the contact, letting some of it slide off him. Pacheco doesn't really have that.
Fair enough. Spards, thank you for the support. Appreciate you very much. Do you think that Andy will drastically cut back on the RPOs, seeing that it seems the defense were not respecting the run because Patrick just wanted to throw the ball down the field? Maybe just run the ball, say 35%, and call it play action. I mean, that's what we're hoping, Spards. And again, just like the last question, that's why I put you guys back to back. It's not that they have to run the ball 45%. That's not what I'm talking about. They just got to run it more so that it's a threat, because that feeds into not just the old school play action, which I agree, I think they should do more of, but it does help the RPO as well. If you have a two-way threat, the linebackers in particular are going to bite. And when you're talking about receivers like Hardman and Sky Moore and Juju, moving the linebackers 3 yards towards the line of the scrimmage opens up huge gaps, even in zone defenses, that those three receivers will take advantage of.
Yep. And I would just say that I think, you're talking about defenses not respecting the run. It's not necessarily just because they knew the Chiefs were going to pass. That was part of it. But also they just weren't that effective running the ball.
Yeah, it's like their lowest output per carry in 3 years, right?
Yeah. And so teams knew, hey, even if they do run the ball, it's not going to be that effective. So we'll weather the storm of them running a few times, knowing that they won't be that good at it and they won't stick with it. If you can eliminate one of those two things, that's preferably the first one, you're good to go. Because even if they won't stick with it for a terribly long time, there's a big difference between a 6-yard run, an 8-yard run, and a 5-yard run, as opposed to a 4-yard run, a 5-yard run, and a 4-yard run. Sounds insane, but it's a huge change in what that does to what defenses are forced to account for.
And mentally what it makes the defense trigger on. Yep. It is a sports psychology game out there. Thank you, Spards. Appreciate your support. Aiden, most underrated Chief player that will get recognition in 2022.
Chris Jones.
I was going to say, we all tout him all the time. You mean nationally, I assume.
I don't know.
I'm going Mike Burton.
It's still bothering me. No, I think Hardman's got a good chance of surprising people. I think he's going to get like 50 cheap type targets in addition to extra.
I hope so. With the Chiefs line being better run blockers, should they switch to the Texas T-slot offense? No. When you have that much film, that much time, switching to an old school offense like that is not going to help you. But I will say there's concepts to be had. And I don't remember that one in particular, but that could be the one that did some of the really funky stuff with exchange routes out of the slot that they went totally away from on the backside. And that leaves Patrick with his home run option down to like an X flip kind of thing. And that could really open up. I don't know.
I like watching your brain like, what?
Right, hold on. Who said Mahomes is the scariest QB of the NFL? Oh, it was us. Yes, Chiefs fans. Well done, Royce. Did Orlando sign his deal after this weekend? I don't know, but like Seth said, quiet is good.
Quiet is very good. I think that there's an offer on the table right now. They're negotiating. If I would say, and this is an unfair thing to put on the player, it really is. I think given where the Chiefs are at and with the way they've shown they're willing to offer money to guys they want to keep around, and we know they want to keep Brown around, if they don't get a deal done, you got to blame someone. I'm blaming him. I am, because I can know almost as certainly as I know anything, the Chiefs are willing to offer him at least 20-21 a year, at least. And that should be enough.
That's a healthy chunk. Yeah. You're not top 5 yet.
Yeah, and I don't even mean that like, oh, these guys shouldn't be getting paid. I don't believe that. I think go get your money, man. That's how it works. You're providing a unique service. I mean, like you said, he's not a top 5 guy right now. There's an argument made he's not a top 10 guy. And so it's like, maybe take top 5 money. Maybe take top 3 money. And I think the Chiefs would give him that. I think they give him top 5, top 3 money.
I think that'd be a mistake. I can live with top 5, but that's my ceiling, because you got to grow into it from there. Because quite frankly, he's young too, and if he's going to press like he should, and if his agent is any good, he should be not accepting anything more than a 4-year contract. And if that's the way that's going to go, then you say, okay, I'll give you number 8 money. Now go prove that you're worth more than that, and then we can talk on the 3rd.
Well, and that's the big thing. That's going to be a sticking point for them. They're going to want him to hit free agency when he's 29 and not 30, because that matters.
Yep,
and it should. And hey, go get it, man. Go get to. It's rare because he was such a young player entering the league. He's actually got a chance at 2 big
major.
Contracts.
Yeah,
it's hard to get to that 3rd contract in the NFL.
It is, especially for guys that struggle early or don't hit their perceived upside early.
Right.
Gooch, you're absolutely right. My father did make it, folks. Respect must be shown. Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate you being here. Hot take. Jack Cochran and Mike Rose make the 53 over Carter and Lee. Yeah, well, that's pretty hot, Sean. Mike Rose I have on the 53. Jack Cochran is not. I have zero impact about him. And by the way, Lee was getting reps with the ones in OTAs, folks.
It would surprise me if that happened.
Yeah, me too. But, hey, crazier things have happened. Let's see what happens in camp. Who presses? Okay, got this one from Stevie. Okay, yeah, you can see, guys, how long.
Ryan.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. You must be a lawyer, huh? Jackson Sloan, thank you for the support. We appreciate that. Seth's fake smile. It's going very well. Micah, great pod. Can y'all shout out Nick, the Dolphins fan, that claimed
it's. People are fans and they're having fun, and I hope for nothing but the best for Tua. I hope he has a great year.
I like the kid. I want him to.
He really got kind of crapped on last season, and then all like the speculation about how they were going to replace him and all that. And now they're like tripling down on him, sort of. They're creating you better succeed this year, dude.
Yeah, they're creating an excuse to get rid of him was what they're doing.
Yeah. And I hope he crushes it.
I hope so too. Like I'm pulling for him. Do you think they'll be able to pay Chris Jones, Snead, and Thornhill next year? Oh, Chris has 2 years on his contract, right? Or is this the last?
Chris has 2 years left, and L'Jarius Sneed has 2 years left as well, I believe.
Juan's the only
Sneed's
one you have
contract
to extend
expires
this year.
after 2023. So it's Thornhill that's hitting free agency for sure.
Right.
Jones, I'm guessing something happened. Although this is the biggest year for Jones's deal, if I recall.
Is it? Okay.
Because I know there's 1 year that's just absolutely kind of bonkers. And yeah, that's this year. This year is the $29 million cap hit, 29.4. Next year's 27 with a dead cap hit of 7, so they can clear 20 mil. That's why a lot of people have a lot of theories about Chris Jones. I think that's a wonderful opportunity to say, hey, Chris, let's extend you and retire a Chief because you're awesome. But,
Agreed.
what do I know? Whatever.
What's total cap now? 208?
You know what? I don't remember.
The latest projection I saw was that after this season, going into 2023, is that we're looking somewhere at the low 230s.
Oh, you think they think there's going to be the big jump in between 22 and 23?
Yeah, that's what I'm understanding from a couple of people that track this stuff and have a little bit more insight into the league than I do. If that's the case, then I don't think there's any problem here, Deldrick. I think they can get all of it done.
Well, in addition to that, I know that what I've heard, and again, people don't know, right? They speculate, they think. My understanding is in between 2023 and 2024 is like the big jump. Like
okay.
I think that because I think that's when you get the contracts, then you get 1 year that goes in, and then it kicks in. But I've heard there'll be a sizable jump between 2022 and 2023 as well. And that's the thing.
Is.
Let's say it leaps up to the high 220s, right, or the low 230s, and then people are saying, like over the cap, they're estimating 256 by 2024. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of relief for cap space.
Yep. And
Frey.
You build it around that.
Exactly. Frey, the second half of the AFC Championship game, I don't think the issue was only Mahomes, and he is the one that's stubborn.
I mean, it wasn't just Mahomes. Anytime you lose a game, it's never going to be just one thing.
Right.
Andy should have recognized that Mahomes was struggling. But you know what? Andy has adapted the keep firing with Mahomes, and it's worked constantly. So what can you do there? I mean, they could have done some things differently. It doesn't help. I mean, yeah, Patrick Mahomes, he missed McCole Hardman wide open. That would have been like a 95-yard touchdown. At least. Well, not at least. At most. At least it would have been like a 40-yard gain. And he was so open. Whatever. But, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill dropped a couple of 50-50 balls that he should have caught, including in overtime. Travis Kelce dropped the ball he should have caught on third down early in the second half. And that's when you saw Mahomes start to press. Because the defense gave up a touchdown that they really shouldn't have. They really shouldn't have. And then they didn't get the score that they wanted at the end of the half. Then they came out, were starting to move the ball. A few drops later, you saw things start to press. Now, Andy could have done something to that, but I can see why he thought keep firing.
You got to have faith in your general. I agree with that part, but to be more specific, a lot of people want to know what do you mean specifically by the word press? Because I think you and I mean the same thing, but I want to make sure.
I think he started trying to make he started trying to gain 20 yards on plays where you could gain 10. And I think he also became a little more, not afraid, it's the wrong word, but he became a weird combination of pressing and more cautious than he should be. Trying to look for plays that weren't quite there and then not taking advantage of the plays that were there. Classic example would be the last drive of regulation. He had a couple shots at the end zone, but he knew the game was tied. I think if the Chiefs were down 3 during that drive, I think they win that game because he throws it to Byron Pringle in the back of the end zone. He throws it to Travis Kelce at the front of the end zone. So when I say press, I mean he had some inaccurate throws that are really unusual for him. And I think it's just, we got to get this. We got to get this. We got to get this. And you just saw some misses there.
I agree with you. For me, it becomes a little bit more specific in looking for that bigger play, is that I felt that he narrowed in on his primary read a little bit longer and he lingered too long. And I felt like the guys that didn't have his complete trust, like McCole, he took off of his path. Yeah, it's not that he missed McCole. It's that he wasn't ready to look for him.
Yep.
He didn't have the faith in that moment. And I think that's part of the problem.
Yeah, I could see that. And that's, things were pressing. And normally, 9 times out of 10, when he started to do that with Travis and Tyreek, they came through.
Yep.
Almost any other game. Super Bowl. I mean, they came through, right? I mean, those were the guys. And Sammy at that time had his trust. He had a third guy. And McCole, who I think he likes, I think he recognizes how valuable McCole Hardman is, because he is. He's very valuable to this offense. But he is not a 3rd and 15. I'm going to look for that guy. At least he wasn't last year. I hope he is this year. That would be amazing.
Exactly. Let's hope that this contract year for him, or this comeuppance and this crew, make him do that. Yep. William, rumors about EB and Patton disputed at halftime. Is any truth to that? I'm sure voices were raised. EB doesn't hold back. He's going to hold you accountable. He doesn't give a shit. He does not care who you are. But I haven't heard anything specific anything that the media made out to be this like come to blows kind of thing. So
well, and I would just say, I read the thing that you're talking about, and I have questions as to the veracity of it.
Fair enough.
I'm talking to text.
No, I know what you mean. Text did ask, is Orlando Brown done yet? No, I feel like the little kid in the backseat asking if they're there yet. No, not yet, but they only have till the 15th, so it's 2 weeks away. They got to get it done, or he's only going to be able to play on the tag, and I don't think he wants to play on the tag. So I expect it coming.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tex, Ryan, how'd you get started doing this?
That's a fun question.
Yeah, it's a long story. My playing days in college were terrible. I should never have played college football. I should have stuck to wrestling, which I was pretty good at. But I made the leap because I wanted to play ball and I sucked. So I started coaching. And I was a GA at Kansas for a couple of years, and I started my own strength conditioning outfit. I ran that for 15 years. And after I'd moved to Colorado and everything, got jobs in another industry so I could pay the bills and have a family. And during that process, I've always tracked the draft. Because I was a strength conditioning coach in college. I worked with all the pro scouts and stuff at pro days and that kind of thing when I was coaching. And so that turned into, hey, I should talk about this. I was reading Seth one day and reading BJ, and I put up a fan post that Joel posted on Arrowhead Pride. And then people started offering me jobs to start writing. They didn't know I couldn't spell, that I'm terrible, but they did. So I started that, and about a year and a half later, I said, you know what? I'm not going to screw around with this. It takes me forever to write, so I'm just going to start recording stuff. Mm-hmm. And the next thing you know, thanks, Tex.
You're very gifted at it.
I yak a lot. That's all. What type of production do you think we can get from the secondary? You think that they have to carry most of the load on the defense?
Yep. Well, it depends on how the linebackers do.
I think that they are of the caliber enough, and I have a lot of faith in McDuffie, so maybe I'm a little bit higher on this than some people. I think the caliber. I do too. I mean, I have enough faith in the secondary that I think they will provide the extra time that the front needs to actually improve. George Karlaftis is not a speed rusher. He needs 2.5 seconds at the very least. You give him 3, I think he's going to hit some quarterbacks. So I feel like, as always, defense works front to back, pressure on the sides, and you squeeze. If they get the performance they get out of the secondary, I think the front will be okay, especially if they make an acquisition.
I think I'm really, really interested in seeing year 3 of Willie Gay Jr. with them finally, it seems like, about to put some trust in him to have a more full-time role, which I think he earned a year and a half ago. And year 2 of Nick Bolton, who surpassed my expectations last year and is claiming that he's seen the field faster. And, you know, when the concerns are change of direction and top end, sideline to sideline speed, saving even 0.2 of a second in recognition can be the difference in that. So that would help the secondary. Now, there's a limit to that because you're talking about the passing game. Willie Gay Jr. is going to be really important in that because the middle of the field suffered last year. So Cook and Gay, huge deal how they do. Yeah. And a huge deal. Bolton can go from, okay, with zone drops, you can hide him just enough that he can get the job done. Similar to Hitch when Hitch was actually at his best in Kansas City. I think Bolton was already there.
Agreed.
If he can take just a 5 to 10% jump in that to where now he's decent at it. He's all right.
Right. And Nick looks leaner to me. He looks quicker to me. Now, I didn't get to see OTAs, but from what the little clips that I saw, like, he looks quicker.
Right. And I would sacrifice 10% power for 10% quickness from him because he's got the 10% power to spare.
Agreed. He's still going to hit you like a ton of bricks too. Him and Cook are going to be fighting over who gets to knock dudes out. I'm going to love it.
Right now, while we're doing this, Nick Bolton is setting his new personal best deadlifting something.
Yeah, probably.
Right now he is not skipping leg day. Like that's Nick Bolton. Like, I'm excited. I think this defense is going to belong to him and Justin Reed. And I think that's going to be a change. And Chris Jones will always be kind of there in the background, but he's a hype guy. He's I'm the elite player. We all know it. Let me do my thing. And I hype everyone.
Yep. The
guys that are grabbing guys and putting them in the right spot, doing that stuff. You need a couple of those guys. I think that's Reed and I think that's Bolton.
I agree with you. Rodier, thank you for the support. Appreciate you, dude. I'm sorry I didn't see a question, but I will check one more time before we're done. Jaden, is it crazy to think that Mahomes can have his second best season as a Chief now that he has more guys to go to instead of Hill and Travis?
No.
It ain't
I don't
crazy
think that's crazy at all. I think he could have his best year this year. Best offensive line he's had, probably. Very likely, even. Which the 2018 offensive line was good. because you had you had with Schwartz, you had Fisher healthy and kind of when he was at his very best. You still had Morse, but you had a rotating cast there at the guard positions because LDT got hurt, if I'm recalling.
Yep, I think 5 games.
Yep. And then he also was kind of starting that like back to a downslide thing after he'd really started to peak. And so with that, multiple weapons, the potential's there.
5,000's on the table. I'm just going to tell you guys. If they can't get the run game going, especially, 5,000's on the table.
Mm-hmm.
You can say what you want about Tyreek, but he is a professional. Oh, okay. Listen to his second pause. He basically admitted he took the money.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
Look, if someone, if the offer that was on the table for me was, I don't know, $20 million a year, and my agent called me and said, I think we can get 24 per from Miami with a bigger bonus, and there's no income tax there, dude. And you'll be living in Miami, and you're a 28-year-old dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get it. There's no hard feelings there. And then he's trying to start a podcast, so he's throwing some stuff out there. Fair enough.
No, that's BS, but that's just me.
Brian?
I think that's BS. Brendan, thank you for the support. Appreciate you. No, I don't like Flame Wars just for the sake of Flame Wars.
Yeah.
I'm curious how you all would rank our offensive potential in the NFL. Thanks, Tex. You say 1. Okay.
I mean, when you're talking potential, they've been one of the best 3 offenses in the league in all 3. 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, top 3 in DVOA every single year. That is so hard.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It depends how you're measuring that.
Yeah. And yeah, DVOA efficiency, that kind of stuff. They are easily potential of 1.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. More snaps for Fortson or Gray? Fortson by a long shot, I think.
Really?
Yep.
It looked like they were kind of trusting Gray down the stretch last year.
Incorrect.
But
not that you're wrong, but they're wrong for doing that.
That was more of a function of Fortson getting hurt. They had to slide someone into the role they had planned for him. I like Jody Fortson, man. I got to write about Jody Fortson before the year starts.
You do. I mean, you only have like 4 games you got to watch. Go do it.
I haven't heard anything about how his rehab's progressing. But I think he's a guy that can earn the trust. I think he'll grab a couple of those go up and get it moments. And Mahomes will say, I'm going to let him go up and get it. Let's see what happens.
I heard from 2 different people that he's 90%. And that's great for right now.
That would be so great.
It's incredible. Yeah.
And that guy has worked his butt off to get where he's at. He deserves it. That would be great. I would just love it. Some kind of like 500-yard season or something. I'd lose my mind. It would be so great.
All right, we're going to wrap this up, you guys. We got a couple more here. Gold Towel, with NIL, do you see rookies gaining leverage on their contracts and change cap strategies for the league? No. The NFL could not care less what you make. In fact, who's the kid who just got like $9.5 million, whatever, at Florida? He's not going to make that in his rookie contract. That's not going to happen. So you enjoy it.
You might see, like with all the chaos in college football right now, you might see guys stay in college a little longer. You might see that. And I think some people would really dig that. And now, and I'm not really one to soapbox on all this stuff. I know people have their opinions on players getting paid and all this stuff. I mean, they're making the college league a lot of money, and people are willingly giving them this money to do it with NIL.
Yep.
If I'm a booster and I'm worth $500 million and how I want to spend that money is by grabbing the number 1 recruit or whoever and getting him to play for a school you normally wouldn't, who's to tell me I shouldn't do that?
You're very right.
Shell out your money for that. And I think that now they have the choice. They can do that without quite as much risk. Now, there is still some risk because you might like have a down year, but you're not quite as much risking like I'm going to get hurt and miss out on life-changing money. Because that was the problem. Even the way that this is the way it was actually a reference to Mitch Morse, and I know we're going over, but he phrased it to me when Austin Ryder got paid. And that was like a $3.5 to $5 million contract, something like that. Mm-hmm. The way he framed it to me, he's like, I'm so happy for him. That's life-changing money. And it is.
You got it.
And that's where you have to. You absolutely have to. So if you're in college and you know you'll get drafted, you almost have to enter the league. You almost have to because it's life-changing money or you get hurt or something bad happens. And they were already making some cash under the table. We know that, but not life-changing money. Now, some of those guys, they get a chance at life-changing money or even money that can kind of set them up in case a catastrophe does occur. And so I think that's great. And maybe it'll make college football a little more fun with guys hanging around an extra year or two.
I think that's the key. Be a big fish in a small pond, make a couple $1 million, one more season of NIL when you don't even know if you can make a roster of the NFL. Yeah, it's risk versus reward.
Absolutely.
Britton, any thoughts on potential recession would affect the explosion of the salary cap? It would certainly blunt it, but he not sure of the percentage of the streams. The streams are going to be significant. We don't know the percentage yet, but the numbers are going to be incredible. They're paying analysts $20 million a year. That tells you what they're investing in. As I understand it, it's somewhere around $300 million that Apple's willing to invest to try to take it away from Amazon eventually. That tells you what the market is. That's huge.
So it could, and that's a really good point. Tickets and merch could hurt, but for a lot of teams, it won't. Yeah. Because the reality is there's always going to be people willing to spend money, even in a recession, on that, right? Because, in tough times, sport is often where we turn, to kind of like, get a break. I know there are a lot of people out there that have jobs that are, my job takes a mental toll. I'm not like a pity party thing, but it just does. Every now and then I'm like, if I have to see one more kid that has this going on, and sports are an escape from that. So I think you'd see that too. So tickets and merch might hurt a little, but not enough to offset what's about to happen and what is already happening with the streaming wars. They already got like a $2 billion check from Disney.
Right. And then think about this. They're now going, NFL has 2 events going on in Africa. They now have 3 events going on in Europe. They're talking about putting teams in Europe. Like, you're going to gain in the next 5 years, you're going to gain 10 streaming accounts for every season ticket holder you might lose.
Yep.
That's a win proposition for the league.
Yep.
William, pick one. Chiefs running backs get 1,800 yards from rush yards, or Patrick goes for 5,000. Patrick.
All the Chiefs running backs combined get 1,800?
Yes, which would be a slight increase over last year, yes. I wanted to say it was 1,400.
I mean, that's both of those I think are doable. Fairly likely.
Mm-hmm. But if you had to pick one, what is it?
Mahomes 5,000. If he's health permitting.
Okay, that's what I thought too. All right, we agree. Who's going to be the Chiefs wide receiver 1?
Travis Kelce.
Cheater.
Oh, I'm not allowed to cheat.
All right. MVS and yardage, Juju and touchdowns.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yep. I really do think, I know Dan's big. He thinks it's going to be McCole. I think your wild card there is Sky Moore. I really do. But I'm still in post-draft mode with him.
Fair enough. As of now, which DBs do you think make the roster?
Oof.
Thornhill, Reed, Cook, Anderson. I'm not sold on Deion Bush. McDuffie, Snead, Fenton, Johnson, Baker. The 10th, I'm
who are you forgetting? There's someone, Williams,
yes. Williams is the last one. There you go.
Oh, and also you've got Jaden Watson.
I don't think Jalen's ready to beat out Baker. I watched a lot of Jalen film.
I'll be honest. When I went back and watched his film, not Jalen. When I watch his film, much more polished than I would have thought for a late round pick.
Right. Sean Smith, right? Does it not scream Sean Smith?
Yes. Yep. Sean Smith screams it. Now, it's hard to succeed the way Sean Smith succeeds. That's why you don't see a bunch of big old corners in the NFL.
That's why I think he needs a little tweaking. And folks, I have a bunch of people from high school and college and stuff that are Wazoo fans. I've seen more Jalen Watson than anyone has a right to see.
Yeah, and he can play.
Yeah, he can definitely play. That was a good one, Kale. And thank you for the support. Cody, thank you. Sky Moore getting pro comps to Cup and AB.
Those are 2 really, 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 really different players. And so I'm going to take that for he can do it all.
Right. And I'm also going to say there's no reason to put that kind of pressure on him at all.
Yeah. AB was on pace to be one of the most productive receivers to ever live before he lost his ever-loving mind. And Cooper Kupp is – I'm not sure I've ever in my life seen a better fit between receiver and system than Cooper Kupp, other than like Jerry Rice and Bill Walsh's offense, right? And
Right.
even then, Cooper Kupp was built in a lab to play in Sean McVay's offense. I think in any other offense, I think he'd be really, really, really good. He's a great wide receiver. He's exceptional. But Sean McVay's offense is like, this is 105% of what you can get from this dude.
Yeah. For your second part, if he can average 5 catches per game, could he be rookie of the year? Absolutely. He will run the hell away with it.
Yeah, because 550, about 1,000 yards. TD per game. That'd be insane. If he gets 17 touchdowns, yes,
it's
he
over.
will win rookie of the year. That's it. But if he sniffs 1,000 yards receiving and gets between 7 to 10 touchdowns, he'll be in the conversation.
No, I'm with you. Steven, is there any way the league can regulate these overinflated player salaries, or will the ghost of Jared McGuire need to possess Drew Housen? No, they will not, and they shouldn't. The players still make only 48% of the revenue that this league makes. The players are still the smaller fish in this sea. Yep. They should not. I will say this. I hope that they put some further constraints on the next CBA so that it doesn't turn into these, no offense, we'll use Patrick as an example, $500 million for one guy, and then there's 14 guys that are making league min. So I hope that there's some balancing, and the cap going up should help that.
Right. And one thing, because of the nature of football and the way rosters work and how many more, this isn't the NBA where you've got, 12 guys on a team. You got 53, and only at most 10 of them are guys that most fans have heard of, if that. And so those 43 guys, and then, the 10 guys on the practice squad, those guys are going to always carry the most weight with the CBA, because you don't get a bigger vote in the CBA just because you're a star. You still get one vote for your rep. And so the guys who are always going to win as player reps for the union, and therefore the guys that are going to have the most weight, because, the union reps of the world, they want to keep their jobs. They're going to be the ones that are pushing for the rank and file. And so that's going to be the big thing you see. I think you're going to continue to see. And the owners know that. They can say, hey, but what if we raise the league minimum by like $100,000 for all of you, and we just kept this franchise tag?
Oh yeah, they'd love it.
Yeah, we talked about that before. Like if I'm Jody Fortson, right? Players worked his butt off, belongs on the roster. I don't give a crap about the franchise tag. Right. I want the veteran minimum to go up $250,000.
Yep, absolutely.
It's brilliant.
By the way, Turbo Duran, welcome to the band club. Don't come back. Anyway, hope you guys had a good time. We've talked money. We've talked league. We're going to talk more. Go get on to the Substack. If you're not subbed already, you are missing out, because Seth writes better than I talk. So you need to go do that.
Me also say many good things.
See, like he say now. And check out NFL 33 as well. I know our life is about Chiefs, right? There are things outside of that. There are league things. I'm going to be doing a piece here on what the NIL is doing, on what the change in college football is going to do to recruiting, and how teams now have to change their staffs of scouting, etc. You'll find all that over on the new thing. And, check out the store, do stuff, get some gear. It's all good. We have stuff coming for you. New channel member, you're going to see that. More stuff from us. And, hey, we're under 3 weeks from tomorrow, the rookies and quarterbacks report. So, hey, we are in good shape, folks. I hope that you guys are ready, because I'm certainly ready. Seth, I know you're ready because you have to text somebody something. So we're going to call it a night, you guys. Thank you for being here.
Me. I'm telling him he's a bad person.
Tell him I said hi, folks. We will catch you next Thursday with Seth. Don't miss this weekend. I'll have something for you on Sunday night, and we'll have the live stream on Monday. Take care, and we'll talk to you then.